in the virtual chamber. No indications that anyone's hasn't returned yet. I'm just took a quick look at the attendance list. It looks like we do have everyone here. So we will restart the meeting and we'll now receive the final report on today's agenda, and it's an update on youth justice service and care experienced young people. And I'm very pleased that we've been joined by the group manager, Mark Lewis, and the strategic manager for the service, Krista Bonham Griffiths, and also by the head of service in the Education, Children and Young People's Directorate. No, that's wrong, isn't it? It's got a new title. I'm getting used to it. So a very warm welcome to colleagues from the Directorate. And over to, I don't know if Nick or Mark are introducing the report, and then Krista's coming in.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Education, Early Years and Young People Directorate. But yeah, good afternoon all. Mark Lewis, Group Manager, Family Support, I think soon to be Group Manager, Early Years and Young People. Krista, I'll call you in and I think we'll then move to a Q&A rather than me labour it anymore. Krista, are you happy to take members through the main points of the report?
Absolutely, yes. Good afternoon all. Okay, so the purpose of the report as a key partner, because Bridgend Youth Justice Service is a key partner of the Corporate Parenting Board, so is to provide you with an update of youth justice provision for care experienced children or those at risk of becoming care experienced, because as you can imagine, we do have quite a large number of children that have increasing complexities within our service. And one of the main aims of our service is to develop robust pathways to improve the outcomes of those children most at risk of offending behaviour or harm-related behaviour. In terms of our statutory duties, well, that's it really in a nutshell. We have to ensure that those children between ages 10 and 18 who are at risk of offending, that one, we identify them, and two, we put a robust assessment plan and pathway in for those children that enter our service to try and reduce that offending. And we have a responsibility to comply with the Youth Justice Strategic Plan, which is a 3-year plan. And we also have a responsibility to comply with frameworks like the Youth Justice Blueprint for Wales, which very much focuses on a child being a child first and an offender second, and to ensure that we try and divert those children from being stigmatised by criminalisation into other services where necessary, and we work with them to avoid criminalisation in the first place. And also we have to comply with the Wales Protocol for reducing care experienced children and young people, and therefore it's really important and imperative that our work with the Corporate Parenting Board is included in the work that we do with those children. In terms of the further descriptions in the report, it very much focuses on how we've developed our services to include a wide range of support services for children who are entering youth justice services. The report talks about the breakdown of the amount of children that we've got who are currently care experienced. Currently, the report describes that out of our 92 children, 13% are care experienced children. And for those children, and indeed all of our children, we have a responsibility to provide a range of programmes to suit their needs and complexities. So we describe in that report the individualised trauma support, the prevention and diversion model of practice that we've introduced, which includes prevention and diversion panel. That panel is a multi-agency panel, including community safety, including early help, children's services. There's a range of services in there. So we've got entrance and exit strategies for those children who are identified as being referred into the service. We've improved our speech and language support, so all children 13 and under now get a standardised speech and language assessment, and all of our other children that are 13 and above are referred in through our assessment process. And we're currently working, the speech and language therapist is currently working with 70% of those children. So that's a huge development in that support that's provided through that department. There's mental health support and substance use support in-house. So we have a substance misuse worker, and now we've managed to obtain a CAMHS worker, part-time CAMHS worker, to support those children with mental health concerns, and indeed support the workers to support children with mental health concerns. We've introduced, alongside our corporate parenting board, the introduction of a resettlement panel, and that aims to improve our resettlement and transition planning with our wider partners. So we've got housing, we've got corporate parenting, probation, community safety, a number of our partners around the table to ensure that the pathway plans for those children and resettlement plans are firmly in place, and we review them on an ongoing basis. We're also involved with our wider exploitation panel for the local authority, and safeguarding processes and planning. So not only at a managerial level, but as part of child protection conferences, planning, and where there's direct planning for any children known to our service. Referrals to our external partners and specific support where necessary is key to success for those children. And as part of that, we're involved with a range of voluntary services, such as Barnardo's, Cooth Mental Health Services, and the list goes on really in terms of our voluntary service participation and involvement to ensure that the widest scope of help is available for children entering and exiting youth justice services. Our aim is to have one plan for the child. So whilst we work to different systems where children's services have a plan in place, we very much will blend into that one plan to avoid that duplication and repetition in terms of that child's journey through our systems. And our staff have been involved in the signs of safety model training, and also our partners, children's services staff, have also been involved in our trauma training. So that's a combined effort. And I think the main aim really is to work together in partnership to ensure that the needs of the child are best met, and also that there's firm exit strategies for those children who are leaving our service. And I think that covers the content of the report.
Thanks so much for that summary of the report. Very interesting, Krista. So over now to colleagues for any questions on the report. Councillor Blundell, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just originally first I'll move the report, but I really just wanted to extend my congratulations and thanks to Krista and Mark and the rest of the team in Youth Justice, because it wasn't that long ago that this service was in special measures and was in a particularly bad place. But as I think we've seen now over the last few years, there's been a gigantic shift in the way the service is run in Bridgend, and is now in a much better place than it ever has been before. And I think that's testament really to the great work of officers really who have, like Krista and Mark, who are with us today, to bring that forward. And we can see that we were the only youth justice service teams to be successful with UK government funding in Wales, and of a handful of all services in the entire of the United Kingdom, we all attend, myself, the leader, the deputy leader, I think Councillor Farr, all attended the launch with the UK government. On a political standpoint, the police minister couldn't join us, but it was great to see that all those teams coming together. And again, it's just fantastic to see that this service is in a much better place. So really, that's all I wanted to just really highlight to the committee, because some members may not be aware of the service or may not know its history, but just really to say thank you very much to the pair of them and the rest of the team for their hard work, really. So thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Blundell, and I'm sure that's echoed by all cabinets, certainly myself. It's a remarkable turnaround of the service, and we're very proud that we've secured a significant investment actually from UK government in that trauma-based approach to supporting our young people, because we know in the vast majority of cases they have experienced trauma, haven't they, and adverse childhood experiences, and it's about putting the child first, because they may have committed offences, but first and foremost they are children and they need our support, and quite often they're our children there because they're in the care system, and we have those additional duties and responsibilities to them. Councillor Good is next, please.
Thank you, Leader. And similarly, as Leader and Councillor Blundell say, I'm more than happy to also extend my congratulations, and I think it's a really positive step forward, and really great to see the progress. I just wanted to raise the question, really. I'm sure all the members of this committee and all the officers attending the committee will have been concerned about the reports coming out of Park Prison over the last few weeks, and obviously we tragically heard of the death of a 17-year-old at Park Prison a day or so ago. I just wondered if officers could update us on what work is being done within the youth offending unit that's within Park to be making sure that those young people are as safe as possible, and what representations are being made to G4S and to the Ministry of Justice to make sure that these increasing concerns, because they must be increasing concerns for all of us, that work is being done to improve what seems to be a very difficult situation in Park Prison at the moment.
I'm going to come in first, Councillor Good, and then I'll ask Chris to pick up some of the specifics. So for the record, there's a designated senior practitioner, social work senior practitioner, on Bridgend's payroll, but sits within the young offenders unit within Park Prison, and obviously in terms of management oversight and supervision, professional supervision, that's done through the Youth Justice Service and Krista and her operational managers. I'm not cited on the specifics so that, and I concur, really very, very sad. These are not, to my knowledge, Bridgend children. Don't for 1 minute think these are children, but I just wanted for the record to indicate that to my knowledge, some of the more recent sad events. But you are right, it is a pattern, for want of a better term. They, G4S, sit on our Youth Justice Service Management Board, which meets actually quite timely tomorrow, and we are seeking some updates, at that sort of strategic level, and some reassurances really in terms of, clearly it'll be a case-by-case basis, but we're trying to determine whether there are any patterns, any lessons can be learned. But before I ask maybe Krista to come in on some of the specifics, just to reiterate, we do have that designated post, and that isn't just for Bridgend children, because as you probably know, there's only small numbers, if ever, of children within that young offenders unit that are Bridgend children. But Krista, have you got putting you on the spot really, any specifics you want to add to that?
I think that's a really good point, Councillor. Our senior practitioner is there for specifically that purpose, that we need to provide safety planning for all of our children, because Park Prison is based in Bridgend, so he has the responsibility for ensuring the home authorities as well as our own, albeit there are no children from Bridgend in Park Prison currently. But he has a responsibility to ensure the safety planning alongside the MASH and the designated officer, the LADO. So they work very closely together to ensure that the plan for each child in that Young Offenders Institute section are covered by the Home Authority, and that safety plan is in place. So that's very much a responsibility in terms of his role. He meets very regularly with the other designated social workers across England and Wales, and they meet on a regular basis to discuss cases, safety planning. And whilst there is a lot of media attention at the moment around Park Prison, the situation in Park in terms of the young persons area there is actually a very positive one in terms of what we see on the ground. So I just would like to reiterate that role and the function of that role really does assist us to work in partnership around those safety plans for children.
Thank you for that, Mark and Krista. Absolutely right to raise this today, Councillor Good. I have written to the Minister responsible in the Ministry of Justice in regards to recent very sad deaths at Park Prison. Have had a response from that, but we will be continuing that dialogue with, and we're seeking a urgent meeting actually with the governor of the prison to discuss what action is being put in place to make the prison as safe as it can be, particularly for young people who are there. And I will bring in the Corporate Director for Social Services and Wellbeing to provide further detail of the action that we're taking as an authority. Ultimately, the responsibility is with the G4S and Park Prison and the Home Office, but we are partners and we've got responsibilities, and it's a multifaceted set of responsibilities across children's and adults. But I know that the Corporate Director will provide more details around those responsibilities in terms of the young people that are at Park Prison. Claire, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Leader, and a really important question. So in terms of our role as the Safeguarding Authority, we've got to have a role around any issues in terms of individuals at risk of harm, be that a child at risk or an adult at risk. And we take forward those individual safeguarding cases for anybody who's resident for a period in Park, as we do for any other part of the Bridgend population. We've got a responsibility as part of the Cwm Taf Morgannwg Regional Safeguarding Board, and the legislation in terms of safeguarding in Wales encourages prisoners and the prisons and the secure estate to engage with regional safeguarding boards, and the Park Prisoner Governor does. So, through the board, there will be discussion and holding to account as appropriate within the legislation in terms of any issues that are ongoing at Park Prison. There is a safeguarding board within the prison on which officers from this authority sit, and there's a health prison partnership on which officers sit as well. So we will be using all the mechanisms that we have available to us under the governance as described by the leader to ensure as best we're able as safeguarding authority that safeguarding arrangements are robust and as effective as they can be in light of the very concerning series of tragic deaths that have been reported in the media.
Thank you for that, Claire. And of course, we will continue that work, and we will continue to speak to whoever we need to speak to, write to whoever we need to write to until we have that reassurance that progress is being made and the measures are in place that needs to be in place to keep people, particularly the young people, at Park as safe as they can be. Are there any other questions on this report, please? I do think it would be helpful because there is some excellent work that takes place within the service. Just to talk about and forgive me if I'm using old terminology, but I don't know if it's still called restorative justice, but certainly the work that's undertaken in the community by some of our young offenders, because I know that can make a real difference, can't it, in terms of giving a sense of purpose and value to young people that have often never felt any sense of purpose or value, and can be fundamental to that young person having a more positive future and not a future within the youth justice system. Krista, please.
Yes, I mean it's one of our main responsibilities to ensure that the needs of our victims are also met as per the Victim Code of Practice. So we have a responsibility to contact all of our victims of children's crimes and then to ask them whether they would wish to participate in a restorative opportunity, and that will include the whole menu of restorative options available to them. So that could mean things like a letter of apology, if they would like the child to participate in reparation toward them or in the community, if they would like mediation, or indeed if they would like direct conference or meeting with the child. Obviously, we have to assess the readiness of both parties in that. So we wouldn't put anybody in a precarious or difficult position if it wasn't, if it was going to actually re-victimize the victim or cause any further harm to the child. So that has a very robust assessment process around it. Some of the community projects that we have are the Building Skills Project, where young people as part of the service are able to participate as part of their reparation hours if they've got a community or court order where they may be given those hours in court. They're able to participate in building skills, construction type skills, where they help to build castles and other buildings, playground areas for children in schools, community services, and actually that's extended quite widely across the whole authority. So if anybody'd like to come and have a look at some of the buildings that we've created in the schools with children to ensure that there's community cohesion and that there's repair where harm has been caused, then anybody would be free to come and have a look at those. We're also starting to do some reparative work in schools where there's been incidents of harm and there's been antisocial behaviour with some of our youth justice officers. And most recently, we are raising awareness of knife crime and knife-related possessions, weapon possessions, and we have our police officer and a volunteer who has just started to go out to the Bridgend schools to do some work to try and prevent children carrying or possessing weapons in the first place. And that's obviously taken off in the last couple of weeks, and was in the planning prior to the horrible incident that happened in Ammanford most recently. But some of that work is really productive in terms of trying to change the attitudes, feelings and thoughts of our children before they enter or they end up entering a police station. So that prevention work is absolutely key to being the driving force in preventing children coming through the service in the first place.
Thank you very much for that, Chris. That's very encouraging to hear, and particularly that very timely work around knife crime, because it is something that I know is an area that's looked at constantly by the police. We don't have a particular, thankfully in Bridgend, there's no discernible trend at the moment of rising knife crime, but we have to be ever vigilant, don't we? And knife crime is one knife crime too many, and we certainly don't want that to become a bigger problem than it is in Bridgend. So that work is key, as you just describe, and no doubt we'll work closely with schools on that, and I'm sure schools will be very keen to be part of that initiative. Okay, I can't see that anyone else has any other questions, but thank you again, Krista, for Mark and Nicola for the work of the service. I have said today that, well, I've requested at least 3 further reports, but I suppose I'm taking advantage of being in chair here, but we will consider how we receive a further report on Park Prison, because we do need to be clear about that. As you heard, it's very complex and multifaceted, isn't it? Our duties and responsibilities at an individual level, and at a collective level as a safeguarding authority, as the authority responsible for young offenders. So we will look to see how that is shared and continue that work and that engagement that was described by myself and the corporate director for social services and well-being. And I will share the letter response I've had back from the minister with the relevant members as well. Okay. Have a mover and a seconder if I haven't had it all already. You'd have a mover and a seconder. Is everyone in agreement, please? Well, thank you all for your attendance here today. There is no other urgent business, and so I will bring the meeting to an end. Thank you.